Alright, what's up guys? We're back on your favourite day of the week, Sunday. Hey. Alright, today's episode is about feminism. We took a whole new approach. We brought some of you into our videos, so it's not just us two, right?
Yep.
There you go.
Powerful women. Feminism, right?
Equality.
Idiocy.
Women's power. Equality and unity.
As a political term, the word feminism is a 20th century invention. It only became part of our everyday language in about the 60s. It was first used back in the day as a medical term to either describe the masculinization of women or the feminization of men.
The feminist ideology has two main beliefs. So the first is that women are disadvantaged and this disadvantage needs to be overthrown. And the second is that men are on top in most societies and this needs to be challenged.
The movement came about because a group of women believed that they had to challenge the generations of male dominance that had taken place in their society. They believed that men had kept women out of the political agenda for too long.
Now, prior to the feminist movement, women were oppressed. They had no vote, and due to the nature of a patriarchal society where the man is the breadwinner and the woman's the housekeeper, so she stays at home, cooks, cleans and raises the children, they believe that it's their time to go out and get their voices heard.
The women weren't allowed to vote. This is because males at that time believed that they weren't rational enough to make political decisions, and they were just purely emotional beings, which doesn't make sense because males are emotional too. We're emotional humans.
Now, this is where a division began in the feminist movement. You had the suffragettes and the suffragists. The suffragettes were the militant kind of feminists. They would send acid to politicians to get their voices heard. And the suffragists were more pacifistic. They would go protest and send letters and...
I think because a lot of men or society in general associate it with angry women, and angry women don't tend to be given the platform that they deserve to not be angry in the first place.
A lot of feminists these days are extreme, so they don't want to just be equal to men, they want to be men.
Because I think people don't understand what feminism actually is. They think it's like loads of women like saying we want to be men, which, you know, not necessarily true. There's a branch of that, but like it's more broader and more than that. You know, it's not everyday first wave feminism, you know. Actually no, it is first wave feminism. That's real feminism right there. Boom.
The way they protest. They like, not in the past where they did like hunger strikes and stuff and it was all like a noble cause. Now they just moan over everything, like, oh my god, everything. If you say a certain thing, oh that's misogynistic, all this, like, oh, yeah, they just moan over for no reason. Like, some people ain't got a reason to hate men the way the world's run or whatever like that, and yet they still moan.
Men, for example, they think it's they're like higher up than women.
The origins of feminism can be dated back to ancient Greece and ancient China, where individual women would stand up for their own rights and political injustices for women in general. But it wasn't until the 19th century that the actual movement began.
Yeah, of course.
No, not really.
Not really.
Definitely not.
Around the world, there's a problem with women getting paid less for the same jobs that men do. This is what we call the pay gap.
According to data from the Office of National Statistics, the pay gap between men and women in full-time professions in 2014 was 15.7%. Now when we look at 2015, it was 14.2%. Full-time, there's still a gap. Even though it's gone down, they're still getting paid less. And if we compare the pay gap in full-time and part-time professions, it is 19.1% between men and women. This is compared to the EU average of 16.2%. Now there is clearly a problem here.
I don't think it makes sense to have two people doing exactly the same job being paid differently simply for their gender. It's not like they're working, it's not like women are working any less. In fact, we're working harder just to show that we're worth it and to prove ourselves, and I don't think that's okay.
I don't know much about the pay gap, but I think it's fair. Men do more work because they get more pay.
Pay gap doesn't make sense because men and women doing the same job should get the same pay because they have the same qualifications, same hours. So I think pay gap is a stupid thing.
It's dumb. For me, like everyone's equal, innit? Like whether you're a woman, whether you're a man, female, male, same thing. Like if you're doing the same job, for example, if you're working in Five Guys, for example, it's the same thing. You're doing exactly the same thing.
As As a reaction to the increasing coverage that the feminist movement has got, there's been males who feel like the feminist movement has kind of overshadowed the male issues of today, and this has created something called the manosphere. This is a loose, informal kind of collection of blogs, writers and vloggers who commentate on issues such as masculinity, male issues, and just like the opposition to the feminist movement in general, and it's kind of like a counterpart to it. An example of this would be the MGTOW movement or the feminist idiocy on YouTube.
They're harming, I guess.
For men, I think traditional men that have been brought up to think that the men should be the breadwinner and the earner of the house, those ones that are very narrow-minded and can't change their mind, it's very hard for them to change their mind. So between them and women, their relations might be a bit poor because they're not willing to change their mind. But to open-minded men like myself, I don't think feminism would, unless you're afraid of women on the up, which I'm not, you shouldn't really be threatened by feminism. You should really encourage it, because your wife is gonna have children.
I think it's improving male-female relations for those who understand and truly want to make a difference. For those who feel that feminism is harming the relationship, the people who aren't willing to accept that they contribute to the problem as well, whether or not they're willingly contributing to it, but by being passive and apathetic to the fact that there is a problem with gender pay, there is a problem with the way women are harassed every single day. I think that is uncomfortable for a lot of people to accept, and that's why it can be controversial.
Have you seen the way I'm talking about them? They're harming it. Look, you just like, every time you hear someone talk about, like a woman talk about a man and them being unequal, you're just like, oh, shut up. Why are you moaning for? You got your votes, you get paid, shut up.
It's harming, because as I said before, it's very women first, it's nothing about equality. Men are just going to be like, on the girls, it's all about guys, and it's just going to cause a rift between men and women.
Domestic violence, rape and sexual assault in general is becoming an increasingly big problem. It happens in all walks of life, and it's important to highlight that it's not only women and children, but it's also men that are victims of this abuse.
More than 40% of domestic violence cases in the UK are against men, and it is estimated that 1 million women and 600,000 men are victims of domestic violence in the UK every year. When we look at rape, it is estimated that there is 85,000 female rape cases in the UK every year. Also 12,000 male rape victims every year. That is roughly 11 every hour. You didn't expect it to be that high, did you?
Nearly 500,000 adults are sexually assaulted in England and Wales each year. 1 in 5 women aged 16 to 59 have experienced some sort of sexual violence against them since the age of 15. And about 15% of those sexual assaults are not taken to the police, they're not even followed up.
And did you know that 90% of them, they know their perpetrator prior to the offence?
Domestic violence towards men obviously isn't dealt with as much as women, because men, even though tradition is not really a thing at the moment, men are seen to be the bigger people and shouldn't really be getting raped or abused by their partner, but because of that they don't get as much airtime. Or
I don't know, but it's not dealt with enough when you just look at the statistics.
I think it's a growing problem, so it's something that's coming to the surface more and more. It may not be addressed as well as domestic violence towards women, for example, but that's because awareness is not being raised, and also when issues of domestic violence towards men tend to be raised, it's not necessarily in the right platforms. It tends towards when you're talking about women being abused, for example, so you don't create the space for women to talk about their issues, so men aren't also given that same space that they need.
Well guys, that's all we have time for on today's episode of Sunday Sofa Politics. We hope you liked the way we do things on our new format. If you like the way we do it, give us a thumbs up and let us know your views on feminism in the comment section below. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, tell your mum, tell your auntie, tell your friends, share it with your whole school. Feminism is an important issue, guys. See you in 2 weeks.
We've done that.